Steve Irwin, known as the Crocodile Hunter, was one of the most famous Australian television stars. He was a zookeeper, environmentalist, and wildlife expert whose death shocked the world in 2006 when he was pierced in the chest by a stingray barb while filming in Australia's Great Barrier Reef. Irwin's legacy lives on with the rest of the Irwin family. In this video, we're going to take a look at what the rest of his family has been up to since Steve's death and how they're continuing the work he was so well known for. Make sure you watch until the end to learn how the Australian government is also helping keep Irwin's legacy alive. Bindi Irwin. Steve Irwin's daughter Bindi was only 8 years old when he died. She was known as the animal-loving toddler that appeared on the Crocodile Hunter Diaries with her dad. Now she's 23 years old and is active in a range of activities such as winning a mirror ball trophy on Dancing with the Stars, having her very own Barbie doll, and meeting with members of royalty. Bindi is the only daughter of Steve and his wife Terry. She grew up surrounded by animals as her playmates. Her grandfather, the naturalist Robert Irwin, was the founder of the Australia Zoo, which her mom now owns. She hosted her first wildlife TV show, Bindi the Jungle Girl, at only 8 years old. When her dad was killed in 2006, she decided she would continue his life's work of promoting conservation on television. In the eulogy she gave at his funeral, she said she didn't ever want her daddy's passion to end. She wanted to help endangered wildlife the same way he did. Bindi went on to star in the 2010 movie Free Willy, Escape from Pirates Cove, and hosted the Australian game show Bindi's Boot Camp in 2012. Her band, Bindi and the Jungle Girls, also released several albums. Bindi joined the cast of Dancing with the Stars in 2015, getting special permission from a California judge to compete as a minor. She was paired with experienced pro Derek Huff, and the pair salsa'd their way to a mirror ball trophy. Afterwards, she said the most special part of the experience was to experience part of her life she never expected. She enjoyed sharing the journey and her story with so many people. Bindi returned to American television 2 years later, along with her mom and brother, to compete on Celebrity Family Feud. Then, in fall 2018, the Irwin family premiered their new series, Crikey, It's the Irwins, on Animal Planet. On that show, the trio share their exciting adventures with amazing animals from around the world. Her various appearances have paid off, with Bindi Irwin's net worth pegged at around $3 million. Off-screen, she still puts in many hours at the Australia Zoo and continues to diversify with things like her own Barbie. Mattel chose the young conservationist as one of its 17 dolls based on inspiring women. The honor puts her in the company of women like Olympic snowboarder Chloe Kim and filmmaker Patty Jenkins. Bindi also had a brush with royalty when she met with Prince Charles during a visit to Australia. Afterwards, she said her family felt extremely privileged for the opportunity and took the chance to discuss ways to protect the largest living structure on the planet, the Great Barrier Reef. After more than 2 years of dating, her now husband, Chandler Powell, proposed to Bindi in July of 2019. A year later, they exchanged vows at the Australia Zoo. During the ceremony, they lit a candle in her dad's memory, sharing tears, smiles, and love. Robert Irwin. Robert Irwin is the youngest of the Irwin children. He was only 2 years old when his father passed away, but as he grew up, he also followed in his father's footsteps. Robert says he wants to continue his dad's work of bringing awareness to conservation to as many people as he can. But there's more to Robert's accomplishments than that. When he's not busy saving animals, Robert Irwin spends a lot of his time traveling the world and taking photos of them. He believes it's a great way to help connect people who don't get out into nature very often with those animals. He's won multiple international awards for his photography and is the leading contributor to the family zoo's official magazine, Crikey. His prints can be purchased at the zoo's gift shop, and he's auctioned his prints to raise tens of thousands of dollars for wildlife preservation. He also put his photography skills to work, taking pictures of his sister's engagement. While Robert made his television debut as a baby on his dad's show, he got his own show called Wild But True when he was only 10 years old. The series was mostly shot at the family's zoo in Australia and was nominated for an International Emmy Kids Award in 2016. While his schedule is full with travel and other appearances, Robert always made time to hit the books, as did his sister Bindi. Both were homeschooled at the Australia Zoo while growing up, where being surrounded by science had a big impact on their education. Robert graduated high school when he was 15, 2 years earlier than most teens. This in spite of having to study in planes, trains, and thousands of hotel rooms around the world. Steve Irwin had a huge following in the U.S., and Robert is following in his footsteps. He made his first appearance on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon in 2017 when he was only 13 years old. During that visit, he told Fallon, "My dad was actually on The Tonight Show quite a while ago, and so it's really nice to be able to follow in his footsteps." Since letting Fallon cuddle a sloth, Robert has been invited back many times as an animal presenter. The late Steve Irwin was known as the Crocodile Hunter because of his compassion for the creatures, and Robert has taken up that mantle from his father. According to Robert, they're his favorite animal by far. Visitors to the Australia Zoo can often catch Robert feeding the predators during a live show. It took years to learn how to do it, but it was something he always looked forward to. Steve's right-hand man, Wes Mannion, taught the youngest Irwin how to feed these unpredictable animals. Robert has interests outside of the animal kingdom, mind you. He enjoys mountain biking for one, which makes sense given the family's love for living life on the edge. While he hasn't had any injuries as a result of feeding ferocious crocs at the family zoo, he has broken several bones while biking. He made headlines in May 2020 for an emergency hospitalization after an unfortunate mountain bike accident that resulted in a separated shoulder. He's also a really good dancer, much like his sister Bindi. The moves that help her win Dancing with the Stars seem to run in the family. She told Us Weekly that Robert is the better dancer without a doubt. He would deny his skills when asked, though, saying he's not as graceful as his sister. It seems he may follow in Bindi's footsteps, though. In an interview with Entertainment Tonight in 2019, Robert revealed he might be interested in competing on Dancing with the Stars himself. While he said he might give it a go one day, he expressed doubts about walking away with a trophy the way Bindi did. Terry Irwin. Steve Irwin's wife, Terry, has spent the nearly 15 years since her husband's fatal stingray accident working with their children to celebrate the crocodile hunter's legacy. That hasn't stopped Australian tabloids from publishing stories about her, such as gossip that she was dating actor Russell Crowe. In an interview with Access Hollywood in 2017, Terry Irwin officially denied those rumors. She said Crowe had been a strong ally in protecting the family's wildlife preserve in Australia, but they're just friends. At that time, she said she hadn't dated anyone since her husband's untimely death in 2006. Irwin said she still feels a connection with her late husband, so she hasn't wanted to be romantically involved with anyone else. Asked if she wants her mom to start dating again, Bindi said she just wants her to be happy. She believes that her mother and father were soulmates and they'll always be together. Terry continues to work as the owner of the Australia Zoo, where she preserves the Steve Irwin Wildlife Reserve and does everything possible to cherish her husband's memory. She spent most of the last 15 years raising her 2 children and has helped them follow in Steve's footsteps. While the Irwin family has worked hard to keep Steve Irwin's legacy going since his untimely death, they're not the only ones. The Australian government has also done its part, renaming Glasshouse Mountains Road, the road that runs by the family's zoo, as Steve Irwin Way in 2007. Later that year, it announced the creation of a 334,000-acre national park in northern Queensland that would be named the Steve Irwin Wildlife Reserve. He even had an asteroid named for him in 2001, with the name 57567 Crikey, a nod to Irwin's signature phrase. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you catch Bindi on Dancing with the Stars? And do you think Robert should continue in her footsteps and compete also? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Trender if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.